Özer Bey, başlattıktan sonra bir dakika beklememiz gerekiyor katılımcıların gelmesi için. Çünkü bir 450 katılımcı var. Onların sisteme dahil olması biraz zaman alıyor. Ben size başlangıç için sözü vereceğim zaten.
Bu 450'yi participant'ın içerisinde görüyor muyuz biz?
Evet, sağ alt kısımda attendees kısmı var. Orada kaç kişi olduğunu görebileceksiniz.
Hello Mr. Carmona, how are you? We don't hear you.
Başlayalım mı Özer Bey, ne dersiniz?
Merhaba, how are you?
Ben bekliyorum, merhaba. Sizden okey bekliyorum.
Beklediğimiz konuşmacı yok herhalde değil mi? O yüzden
herkes burada, sadece Portekiz Büyükelçisi'nin görüntüsü
Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, are you here?
Başlatıyorum. Sizden ricam biraz...
Mr. Jaime Leito?
One second, Mr. Ambassador is coming.
Can you also open your video?
Yes. Eles estão à espera, Sr. Ambassador.
Görebiliyor musunuz şu anda bizi?
Yok, göremiyoruz.
Vou ligar a câmera.
Yok biz.
Hello,
Hello,
I'm
sir.
here.
Welcome. We can start anytime. So we have all participants here, the speakers.
Tamamdır. Alper, ben de kapatıyorum kameramı. Büyükelçim, sadece sizin mikrofonunuz kapalı, onu söylemek istedim.
Sizden ricam birkaç dakika beklemeliyiz.
Mas agora está mute ou não?
Alper, ben onları içeriye almıyorum değil mi?
Hanım, başlayabilir miyiz?
biraz bekleyelim Özer Bey.
Peki, sizden haber.
Tabii katılımcılar şu an ekleniyor çünkü.
Yok, şu an katılımcılarımız geliyor efendim. Biraz daha beklersek.
Buyurun Özer Bey, söz sizin efendim.
Teşekkür ediyorum öncelikle. Türkiye Cumhuriyeti
Thank you very much. Lale Ülker, Turkey's ambassador to Lisbon, Jaime van Lezer-Leito, Portuguese ambassador to Turkey, Pablo Carmona,
değerli temsilcileri,
distinguished representatives of Turkish and Portuguese business worlds, welcome. I would like to first of all wish you healthy days for all our participants here and sustainable achievements for your businesses as the pandemic has hit the world a year ago. And we have come together with you to elaborate on the partnership opportunities between the two countries. And I would like to welcome you all on behalf of myself and DEIC, Turkish and Portuguese Business Council. I realize that all our participants here are the prominent representatives of the businesses here. I would like to talk about DEIC, first of all, and Foreign Economic Relations Board is basically establishing partnerships with a lot of countries for the private sector and their collaboration with various businesses all around the world. Since its founding, it has focused on the development of bilateral investments. And today, we will be talking about the potential trade volume between the two countries, and because we have great potential between the two countries. And our aim is to basically bring together the business circles of the two countries so that they can tap into the business opportunities in the two countries. The Portuguese Investment and Export Agency, ISEP, has always been quite supportive in our relations with them. Many people here know Portugal very well, but I would like to share a couple of figures and facts about Portugal. Portugal is basically a land of 92 square kilometers, And according to the data of World Bank, it ranks the third in the World Peace Order, and its level of welfare is 26th in the world. NATO and the EU are among the institutions where it's a founding member, and $36,000 is the purchasing parity of the country. It has a very strong understanding of state, and its history is similar to the history of Turkey. They were founded in the similar centuries, and it has declared independence and established a republic right at the time period of the Turkish Republic. It has always pioneered many developments in the world, and it has also raised important figures like Magellan. And just like Turkey, it has always positioned itself as a bridge between the continents. It is basically a gateway for the business world to open up to different markets. With all the colonies, 2.6 million square meters is the land that Portugal managed to reach. So it is not basically a population of 10 million. With its cultural hinterland, we are talking about 250 million people in terms of population. 2 billion USD is the trade volume that we have, but we believe that our potential is much bigger than that. In March 2018, a JETCO meeting was held in Lisbon, and an objective was set to basically raise this figure to 5 billion USD. And this is why I believe that business circles of the two countries have a lot of tasks to basically perform. 250 million population, this is something that I'd like to dwell on. While Portugal is quite important in that business activities can be performed in third countries. Brazil, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, East Timor are among the Portuguese-speaking countries. So this is a great gateway for us, for the Turkish business world. So as you think about the business volume and opportunities in Portugal, please take this country as a gateway for a broader outreach for your business activities. Yes, we have business people with us here that have operations in Portugal, but we are here talking about a very well qualified and well educated labor here. A survey in 2020 revealed that Portugal ranks the 7th in terms of the population who is capable of English, and infrastructure projects are among priority areas, including sustainable development. Renewable energies are among the agenda items of the country. The Portuguese government would like to stimulate the economy through investments in a post-COVID world. So public procurement projects will grow in number. 2021 and 2030 is a period of new strategy for the country. 43 billion euro is basically the amount that is being pursued at the moment. In the transportation sector and railway is among priority areas. Energy and irrigation projects will be carried out in the country as part of this strategy. And in the short to medium term, this will also present significant business opportunities for the Turkish business world. Throughout history, the Turkish and Portuguese people have held friendly and amicable relations, and these relations have been maintained over the years. And today, Portugal has always been supportive and warm towards Turkey's accession to an EU membership. And Portugal is currently the term president of the EU, and it will remain so till July. As we cite on all platforms, modernization of the customs union has become essential. And one thing that we kindly request from our Portuguese friends is to focus on the necessity of revising the customs union. Actually, taking steps towards this direction during the term president of Portugal will further enhance the friendly relations between the two countries. Yes, the trade volume is quite below the potential, but I believe that such steps will also provide great momentum to the bilateral relations. Today we're here, and I believe that today's meeting will be quite important in terms of furthering our relations. I believe that we will continue organizing such meetings to further develop on the opportunities that we have between the two countries. Today we'll be hearing from the business people here. One is Global Holding, the other is Oyak Cimento. And at Yildirim Holding, I will also talk about what we do at Portugal. At Yildirim Companies Group, we are basically the Yilport Holding. We operate 22 hubs in more than 10 countries, and we have acquired all the stake of a Portuguese country, and we have included new hubs to our portfolio. Well, after the acquisition of the stake of this Portuguese country, by the way, this acquisition has become the largest investment ever made by a Turkish company. But Oyak has basically surpassed us in terms of the amount of investment they made. In a way, they have also presented a new target, a goal for us to pursue. At Yilport, we focus on growth in Portugal. We have hubs in Porto and Lisbon. 360 million is a new investment package we will carry out in the country. This is basically what will help us reach a seamless infrastructure in hubs. This will also contribute to Portugal and the business opportunities in the country. As I conclude my remarks, I would like to thank everybody for their supports, especially our ambassadors here. Thank you very much for your attention. Now I'd like to give the floor to Pablo Carmona.
Thank you, Ms. Oz. Teşekkür ederim. Thank you for the partnership that we are starting between DACAP and FI in Portugal. We are the association of the board managers in Portugal. We are on the 42nd year of existence. We gather almost all the big companies in Portugal at the executive level, the C members. And we are as also a representative of the managers in Portugal, as according to the government. And so we, of course, in the main objectives of FI is to promote internationally companies and trade and investment with other countries, and Turkey certainly is one of our best experiences in recent times. We believe strongly that Portugal and Turkey have a lot to discover themselves. Of course, the salmons and the ports, they have stayed ahead a little of these things and took the lead in terms of discovering Portugal, which we welcome. I think the experience they have in Portugal are frankly positive, and we'll hear from them in a short while. I'm a very good friend of Turkey, and I know quite a lot, and I have some Turkish friends there. And I believe, and it's fine to see and easy, that Portugal and Turkey are very, very similar in terms of cultural and even economic structures. Apart, of course, the huge difference in size between those two countries, and even people faces are very Mediterranean and very close, and we love olive oil and stuff of our food, and it's not very, very different. And that's why we believe here in Portugal that our country is probably the best country, or the country in Europe where Turkish people feel more at home in terms of culture, in terms of dialogue with people. We share, of course, a long history, a long friendship, a long friendly history. One of us was and still is a powerhouse, a European powerhouse, and we were once a maritime power, with our eyes in the oceans, and but still very open to partnerships to explore and re-explore the world for trade and investments. And I believe that Turkey is certainly a very good partner in terms of what we can do together. Has a curiosity, Portugal is the most spoken language in the Southern Hemisphere, of course, because of Brazil and Angola, but still something that, well, Northern Hemisphere is residual, of course, it's just like 9 million people, as Mr. Ozer was told, but very open to the world, very open to other cultures, and with a lot to give in terms of partnership to our world. Well, FI is all busy here with our Turkish Business Council to help Turkish firms coming to Portugal for trade investments, and the other way around with the ICAP for the Portuguese firms to explore Turkey for trade and investments. And of course, we are eager to develop this friendship and these partnerships for business. And anything that any Turkish company needs in Portugal that FI could deliver in terms of networking with our members, well, the biggest companies we have in our membership, helping with the red tape bureaucracy, which is always something difficult, but we can have some accumulated experience that we can share with our friends, with our Turkish friends. Well, partnerships, anything, or even studies that we can have about our economic activity in Portugal. That thing that can be of some value for trade, for investment, to export to Portugal or even invest. And I'm certainly that the experience we had so far with Turkish companies in Portugal are very pleasant, and we salute this initiative. We salute the ambassadors of both countries, and we are eager to start developing this very strong partnership. And we have a lot to do because they are very similar countries in terms of culture, in terms of economic, and it's a world there out for us. Thank you very much to all.
Mr. Carmona, thank you very much. And we take and receive your sincere invitation, and we rely on your esteemed organization. Very distinguished members of your organization, I think, could be good partners to our Turkish business people. Biz teşekkür ediyoruz size. Ve şimdi
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to
desteklerini bizden hiçbir zaman esirgemeyen
give the floor to someone who's been quite supportive, and Lale Ülker. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Müttesiniz efendim.
Değerli meslektaşım, Büyükelçi
My
Panzer
counterpart, Ambassador
Portekiz İş Konseyi Başkanı Sayın Özer
Panzer
Öz,
Leito, Mr. Özer Öz, Chairperson of the Turkey-Portugal Business Council, President of Paula Carmona, distinguished guests, I would like to greet you all from Lisbon. April was the last time I've had the chance to meet with DEIC, and it was basically the first months of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we had no idea what kind of a situation the pandemic would turn into. And since March or April, the entire world, including Europe, Portugal, Turkey, has been hardly hit by the social and economic problems caused by the pandemic. And we've been tackling the problems, and it's not been easy. It's been quite challenging indeed. But as we've seen, there is a great sense of solidarity in Europe, and efforts are ongoing to tackle the pandemic. In this challenging in this challenging period, Portugal has taken over the term presidency of the EU. Since its accession to the EU, this has been the fourth term presidency of Portugal in the EU. The Portuguese government has set significant priorities in relation to the EU, digital and green transformation to help economic recovery, strengthening the social pillar in Europe, and expanding the global impact of the EU have been established as priorities. And hopefully, during the term presidency of Portugal, these priorities have been greatly covered, are greatly covered. As Mr. Özer cited, the Portuguese term presidency is an opportunity for us, for Turkey, I mean, because Turkey and the EU have held a lot of discussions recently, and Portugal has been quite warm towards the accession of Turkey. It's quite important that it basically coincides with the term presidency of Portugal. Portugal has always maintained a neutral and balanced attitude towards Turkey's accession. Mr. Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, our foreign minister, paid the first overseas visit to Lisbon. He's had exchanges with the authorities in Portugal, and this has been a great testament to our friendly relations. For the first half of 2021, the agenda will be established on quite amicable terms. We've had the chance to hold quite comprehensive meetings indeed. With the Portuguese counterpart, Mevlut Çavuşoğlu held meetings and discussions, and the Portuguese Prime Minister was also among the officials that received Mevlut Çavuşoğlu. Some regional and international topics had been dealt by these officials. Yes, this has been a high-level exchange between the two countries, and one important agenda item that was tackled was strengthening the bilateral relations between the two countries, and they also touched upon how to further tap into the current potential. For a while, the JETCO meeting has not been organized. Maybe in the second half of the year, this will be organized in Turkey. Well, this has been taken as a decision, but it has been unable to organize the JETCO meeting for a while. Together with the JETCO meeting,
ama ikincisi bu süre zarfında gerçekleştirilemeyen.
Well, the first edition of the JETCO meeting was held. The first edition was held in Lisbon, and our president sent an invitation to Portuguese Prime Minister for another edition of the JETCO meeting in Turkey. So this is going to help us touch upon our relations between the two countries, and the Intergovernmental Summit will also be held right after that, and preparatory work will be part of the JETCO meeting. This is quite important in that, and in this outlook, the business worlds of the two countries are quite important because a business forum will also be organized. This is among the plans. Mr. Karmano and Mr. Öz touched upon the following. Yes, seamless relations, social, cultural, and economic relations, they have all been quite strengthened. And in 2019, our trade volume went over $2 billion. And due to the pandemic, the total trade volume that we had between the two countries dropped to a certain extent. We believe that we can basically recover from the pandemic, and we can basically even go beyond where we stood in the previous years. Ambassadors and other companies with overseas operations will contribute to this objective. Without a doubt, some of our business people here have been focusing on that. The office for the trade counselor was vacant for the past 2 years, and in August, a new trade counselor was appointed. She is a quite experienced trade counselor. Yes, we are talking about trade here. We're talking about huge potential. 5 billion USD is what we're talking about here. But the efforts that will be expanded in the coming years will help us bring this potential to its peak. As for investments, well, Yieldport is one of the companies with the highest figure of investments, and we've always been quite proud of Yieldport's activities and operations. I believe that these investments have been among the pillars of the bilateral relations, and Simpor also made an investment afterwards. It was also an investment with a great amount. Agro processing and tourism are among the other fields where companies have been investing in. I'm looking forward to hearing from Simport and Global Port here. It doesn't really mean that this is the entire potential that we can focus on. For Turkey's investments in Portugal and for Portugal's investment in Turkey, we have to support them. And I have to say that the political will is quite strong. Both parties have also underscored the huge potential between the countries, and for the years to come, the FDI environment will be improved in Portugal, and efforts are undertaken to this end. Important infrastructure investments will be made in the years to come. This was something that was touched upon in the meetings between the ministers. Beyond the investment and trade relations between the two countries, Turkish and Portuguese companies can work hand in hand in partnership on third continents, Central Asia republics, Middle East, North Africa, and the Balkans. Turkey serves as an important gateway towards these markets. When we look at Portugal, 250 million is the population that Portugal represents, and the internet that the country enjoys basically presents important opportunities. So when we think about these advantages all together, it is possible to basically launch significant projects. We always stand by you, and I would like to thank the organizers of this meeting for all their efforts. Yes, physical meetings in person. I would like to think that these days are nearby, but I believe that the coming periods will also help us intensify our activities together.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador, for your supportive speech, which shows a clear target for your incredible support, incredible efforts. I would like to thank you and your valuable team. We're very fortunate to have you. Whenever we need you, even before we need you, you warn us about everything, inform us about everything. Really, I would like to say this to all participants on this webinar, a very effective, a very proactive team, and hopefully other participants may benefit from this as well.
Portuguese ambassador in Ankara, His Excellency Jaime Belen Zeller Leito. Sir, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, dear Ambassador Lale Yükler, Ambassador of Turkey in Lisbon, dear Mr. Oz, Chairman of Business Council Turkey-Portugal in Istanbul, dear compatriot Paulo Carmona, Chairman of FAE, the Forum of Board Managers in Portugal, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning in Lisbon, still good morning. I would like to thank DEIC for inviting me to participate in this webinar on economic relations between Turkey and Portugal. If you allow me, I would like to say that my experience in Singapore and the United Arab Emirates, where I have been ambassador, is that embassies can help in developing business. I like these trends of diplomacy that we call for some time in our career, economic diplomacy. That was actually introduced in our curriculum by a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, who I think is today among us as chairman of the new Portuguese-Turkish Business Council in Lisbon. As I've mentioned, the connection of diplomacy and business, I would like to tell you immediately that in the Embassy of Portugal in Ankara, myself and the representative of AICEP, the Portuguese Agency for Investment and Foreign Trade, who unfortunately cannot be present today among us, we are always available to provide information and to help all the Turkish companies that intend to make business with or in Portugal. As an introductory note, I would like to mention, as my counterpart ambassador in Lisbon has already touched upon, the priorities and action lines of the current Portuguese presidency of the Council of the European Union, that I think have much to do with what we are talking about here. And the three priorities of our presidency are: first, economic recovery based on climate and digital transitions. Second, developing the social pillar of the European Union to ensure inclusivity in both transitions. And third, strengthening the strategic autonomy of the European Union open to the world. And having these priorities in mind, we say that it's time to deliver. We propose 5 lines of action according to 5 targets, which are a resilient Europe, a green Europe, a digital Europe, a social Europe, and a global Europe. Now, focusing on Portugal and the advantages of doing business with us, I would like to highlight first the capacity of adaptation and flexibility of Portuguese companies. And this capacity of adaptation we can see during these pandemic constraints, that many companies could adapt to this new world. The Portuguese of today is a modern, technologic, innovative, stable, and peaceful country. Our products are already produced and exported with an add value based on high technology and innovation. Our talent is the locomotive of the Portuguese economy and for foreign direct investment. And Portugal is nowadays recognized internationally as a successful investment destination worldwide. Although our trade balance is increasing for the last decade, we have got still space to grow, and we should use all the instruments to make it better, like this event, trade missions, and also participation in fairs and other instruments we have. I would like to propose the Turkish companies and institutions to cooperate more strongly on selected business opportunities for both countries that include areas such as ICT, renewable energy, building materials, real estate, construction, automotive, railways, agri-food, tourism, among others. Turkey, I would like finally to highlight that Turkey and Portugal are each one located on the edge of Europe. This location can be used, as already mentioned by my predecessors in this floor, using this floor, that this location can be used as a hub for the third countries that use the same language and with which they have strong trade relations. In our case, as already mentioned, Portuguese-spoken countries as Africa and Latin America, Brazil, but also in the United States, Canada, and in Europe. In Turkey's case, with the Central and Middle Asia and Caucasus countries. Partnerships such as in construction, tourism sector can always be made with Portuguese and Turkish companies on those markets. And even if we are in this pandemic crisis, I would like to suggest that in the future, when it will be possible, the businessmen that don't know yet Portugal come to visit our country in order to feel that you are at home. Because as already mentioned, we have lots of affinity between our two people. And so I hope that when we come, you will feel at home and not in a foreign country. Our relationship at political, culture, and commercial level was always the best, and we should take more advantage of this excellent environment for increasing our bilateral trade and investment. Thank you for your attention.
Your Excellency, thank you actually for this very explicit speech, excellent speech, and you encouraged us with your invitation, and you specifically spot some areas where actually Turkish business people are very strong, like construction, tourism, agro businesses. I believe the participants today, when they heard you, they are very much interested, and I believe most of them will knock on your door soon to get more elaborated information about each areas, hopefully. And I'm also very happy that we are aligned. Same, like seeing the potential of between two countries is a great, and there is a lot to be done. There is a lot of room to improve. So this is very good that we speak the same language. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Şimdi, pardon. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Luis Paulo Gonçalves. He's the Senior Investment Manager of ISEP. But before doing that, I will make this in Turkish. Aslında biz bu webinarda öncelikle
In fact, on this webinar, we were going to have Celeste Mota for ISEP on this webinar, but 2 days ago, she's had an accident. Miss Celeste, may she get well soon. She was instrumental in the Portuguese and Turkish business world coming together. She speaks Turkish. Whenever you need, you may apply to her at the Portuguese embassy. In fact, just this morning, she sent me this message from her hospital bed so that I can convey it to you. She is getting better, but she wanted this message to be given. Please reach her, ask questions. Turkish Portuguese Business Potential should like us to elaborate on this.
Sir, the floor is yours.
In an increasingly globalized world, how does a country stand out? This is a country made of land and sea, a crossroad between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, a link between cultures and continents. This is the homeland of talented people, a founding member of the Euro, a gateway to a market of 500 million people. This is the home of a world leader in fast and ultra-fast chargers for electric vehicles. A country that produces more than half of its energy out of renewable sources. A privileged partner for innovation. Every day, more and more companies come to work and think with us. We also produce cars, but above all, we think cars. Think the green road ahead of us, and think the future. Innovation is taking the country to new frontiers. This is the world's biggest cork producer, transforming cork for the most traditional and revolutionary uses, from the top of the most precious wine bottles in the world to thermal shields and rockets and spaceships destined for space. This is a leading tourist destination in the world, a competitive and sustainable location, a top country in providing technological services, host of great international events integrated in some of the most important value chains in the world that attracts and keeps some of the most talented people. So how does a country stand out in an increasingly globalized world? Well, I guess it's by welcoming the world and bridging cultures. Portugal, talented and welcoming.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Thank you so much for this introduction. Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador Leila, His Excellency Ambassador Jaime Leitão, distinguished guests. Good morning from Portugal. Good afternoon to everyone in Turkey. My name is Luís Pada, and I'm a Senior Investment Manager here at ICEP Portugal Global, the Trade and Investment Promotion Agency of the Portuguese government. I'm feeling, as it was explained from Mrs. Celeste Mostert, she's our director of our offices in Ankara at the Portuguese Embassy, and she's our key person in everything that has to do with Turkey relationship between investors from both of our nations and trade and promotion for both of our nations. I'll start now my presentation by sharing with you, with all the present here, a presentation on highlighting why Portugal. Why is Portugal such a key destination for investment and traders? And so we start by here at ICEP always by our track record. Recent investors that chose Portugal as a key destination for high added value projects in very different areas of business to come and invest and create added value for their operations, to spread from Portugal, not only to Europe, but to an existing and growing competitive world market. And again, Portugal and Turkey are key access doors to key markets. Portugal is on the same time zone as the United Kingdom and Ireland, is the nearest European country to the United States and Canada, and is a bridge not only to the large European market of 500 million consumers, but also to the Portuguese-speaking market, bridging in the West, Brazil, and all the way to the Far East Asia, in East Timor. But we are also a safe country to come and invest, where political stability, operational risk, and infrastructure risk is at its lowest peak. And we are considered the third most safest country in the world by the Global Peace Index. And we are a green location. We are a country where, by all the key rankings by the Eurostat, United Nations, a country where it is sustainable to come and do business, where it is sustainable to come and invest, to deliver goods, internationally tradable goods. But the country is more than rankings, it's a competitive and business environment. And so, despite the pandemic that we are facing and that is shaking and making the need for new solutions to be made available, is still a country that up until 2019, 2020 was still growing. Our rate of export was growing. The rate of coverage of our gross domestic products by export was growing year after year. And despite the pandemic, the unemployment rate is still a comfortable one, with 7.1% of the population unemployed by the end of 2020. Still, there is availability of qualified people to hire and to be able to deliver their knowledge and capacities for newcomers to the market, for new companies that choose Portugal to develop their products to tap existing and growing markets that will come out stronger after the coronavirus pandemic. We are still a country that delivers a lot to Europe, but as you can see, where Spain, France, and Germany represent our top clients in terms of exports, but also the United States, Brazil, and Angola as part of the top 10 destination markets for our goods. And these are countries that year after year resort more to Portugal to come and acquire, not only for traditional markets like travel and tourism, but the production of other interesting and high added value goods such as motor vehicles, machineries, common metals, plastics, and agricultural goods that are produced out of a small location that is Portugal. We are on the west part of Europe, but still have a vast distribution network and a vast array of goods and services that are provided out of Portugal. And still, as such, you see here that relevant newcomers or existing companies exporting and investing in our country. Companies such as Borg-Warner from the United States that have already 3 manufacturing facilities in Portugal, or Bosch, the German auto parts manufacturer that has a significant R&D investment in Portugal in partnership with Portuguese University that developed the new solutions for the automotive industry, allowing for companies such as Audi or BMW to acquire new solutions for their automotive cars, are all developed in Portugal in their Bosch facilities in partnerships with the Portuguese University. But companies less known such as the Stelia, a recent newcomer to Portugal from the Airbus group that is building in Portugal the all cockpit and front panel sections for the A330 and the A350 out of Portugal, and is a newcomer to the Portuguese market. But also merger and acquisitions, companies that have come, and I'll speak a little bit later on Turkish investment in this area, but we have Marubeni from Japan that has made significant investments on the energy and the cork producing industries in Portugal. Vinci from France that has acquired the Portuguese airports companies, and Clarinet and investing in Portugal in the IT sector, or Altis, also from France, that have made a significant investment in the IT and ICT sectors in Portugal by acquiring existing relevant players in Portugal. So Portugal is a country that is open not only for companies coming to invest by themselves, but also welcomes companies that wish to come and acquiring existing Portuguese companies. And we are still very much a country that is open for investment. Rankings from OECD, Forbes, the World Bank, we are #1 on trading across borders country out of 119 countries. So this means that in Portugal, foreigners are treated and welcomed as nationals to us. And we are very much proud on this action towards investors. Turkish investment into Portugal And some of you already know this. Some key examples from Turkish investment into Portugal: Yildirim Group that has acquired the Portuguese port management company Tertir, OIAC, which acquired the Portuguese cement giant company Simpor, which is a significant and very strong brand within Portugal, and that's have no effect to the recognition made by Portuguese consumers to the fact that it was acquired by a Turkish company. And I think later on during this important seminar, we'll have representatives of these Turkish companies speaking a little about their experience on Portugal and acquiring these Portuguese companies. But no country can be successful without their competitive advantage. And the number one competitive advantage to our country is, without a shadow of doubt, our talent, the availability of Portuguese-speaking entrepreneurs and the Portuguese labor force. And as you can see here, two key speeches made by Natixis and Carlsberg about their experience in hiring Portuguese workers and the growth they had. Natixis is a key example. The French private bank started with a small operation of about 100 people supporting their innovation hub, and now 3 years later on has almost 1,000 Portuguese workers supplying the high-end solutions for the whole private banking of the Natixis system, which is an amazing development and an amazing recognition of the availability and quality of the Portuguese talent. We have about the third highest rate of engineering graduates in Europe. 14% of foreign students coming to Portugal out of the total Portuguese foreign students, for high education students in Portugal. And we are the 7th highest proficient index in English in the world. For Portuguese students, speaking English is as natural as speaking Portuguese. As of the age of 6, Portuguese students start to learn English as side by side when learning how to speak and writing proper Portuguese. But also innovation. Portugal delivers innovation to companies all over the world. And again, the example of Bosch in partnership with the Portuguese university. And this is a common thread. Newcomers to the R&D in Portugal are in partnerships with universities and with significant high-end results, developing goods that then are produced worldwide and sold worldwide. Infrastructure, of course, not only the airports, but the seaports. And I think the Turkish counterparts know very well the Portuguese seaports infrastructure. Growing 6 international seaports, 4 international airports in the mainland. Portugal, as you know, besides the mainland, has 2 archipels, Madeira, south, near the African shoreline of Morocco, and the Azores archipel in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, halfway between Portugal and the United States, but also a high-end quality of motorway and railroad, which is coming to be improved and expand in the upcoming years within the Portuguese resilience program that is being approved by the European Union Commission. Telecommunication. Some years ago, Portugal was known to have a broadband availability 100% throughout the country. So by the countryside, by the shoreline, in the big cities, in the smaller communities in the country, you would have broadband capacity. And this is a testimony of the availability and the upgrade that was made to the infrastructure throughout the country. Now I'll come to some of the dynamic sectors of the Portuguese economy that have been growing year after year and have been very successful in attracting new investors to Portugal by making usage of these dynamic and increasing competitive advantages the country has to offer to investors. ICT. And I'll give you an example. In the past 4 years, about 60% of the new investors coming to Portugal was in ICT and the shared service sector. And this is a huge testimony. 80% companies have invested into Portugal, more than 90 sites. This means some companies have more than one site, and 25,000 people are working in Portugal in the ICT, growing year after year, developing solutions. And any company that wishes to look for a solution out of the box, to hire people that are able to deliver high-end solutions that no one has thought should highly consider Portugal. The rate of companies coming year after year, contacting ICEP, placing Portugal on a short list to place a new solution is amazing, and it's growing year after year. And you have here on the right-hand side some very, very high-end names like Mercedes-Benz, Microsoft, Concentrix, Continental, Fujitsu, Natixis, Vestas, Vodafone. All of these have chosen Portugal to develop their centers for ICT solutions to supply the world. And this is a growing sector and growing in terms of numbers and higher value products. Here you have a little bit more of detail on who is doing what, some of the key names that you have available here in Portugal. And Mrs. Les Mosta can then provide later on for you some more details on these areas. In the automotive, this is nowadays traditional sector. The Iberian Peninsula is the second largest motor vehicle producer in Europe and the #1 in light commercial vehicles. And we have in Portugal 4 OEMs, Volkswagen, Mitsubishi Motors, PSA, and Toyota, producing light commercial vehicles, automotive cars, small trucks, and buses out of Portugal. And then out of Portugal, as you can see to the right-hand side, you have such a big network of OEMs in Spain that then hire from Portuguese auto components to supply them. The Portuguese auto components industry is very much on demand for high added value projects. Portuguese is like a boutique. A lot of companies produce in Portugal their boutique products to supply to the big auto component OEM companies, not only in the Iberian Peninsula, but all over the European market. Volkswagen, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, they come to Portugal to acquire very special, delicate products that they incorporate then in their high-end cars that are sold worldwide. Pharma industry also growing numbers, and here we have not only pharma manufacturing, but biotech, as more and more companies are coming to Portugal to do their R&D and clinical trials to test new solutions for an increasing market on the pharma industry. Here are some key examples. Bial, which is a Portuguese-owned company, but then you have Ovion, Oribindo, Roche, Sanofi. All of these have been coming to Portugal to develop R&D solutions and clinical trials in partnerships with Portuguese health system and with Portuguese universities. Renewable energy, we take quite a pride on the fact that Portugal is a green location. More than 50% of the energy that is consumed in Portugal comes from renewable sources, more than 51%, currently at 61%. And this comes from a different array of sources, hydro, wind, biomass, and solar. And the Portuguese government each year is putting out applications for new companies to apply for the possibility to produce. Not only to produce is Portugal an interesting location, but also to develop products for this growing industry. So there are companies that come to Portugal to produce components, systems for renewable energy. And these systems are then sold worldwide out of Portugal. Agri-food, when you look at Portugal, think it's a very small country. It is indeed in terms of land. But consider this, we have the third largest sea area of the world, and we have a very high quality agricultural land that produces a lot of products that then you can come to Portugal and transform into processed goods to be delivered worldwide. And this comes from wine, olive oil, fruit, bakery, canned fish. Canned sardines and canned tunas are some of Portuguese delicacies that are very much considered and sought worldwide. So tomato, we have, for instance, the second largest tomato company in the world, which is Japanese Kagome Group, has 2 very large manufacturing facilities in Portugal that considers the Portuguese tomato as the best delicacies product and transforms them into a vast array of products, and that exports to not only to Japan but to their worldwide distribution network. You have here some key examples of foreign companies that have chosen Portugal to produce food out of Portuguese agricultural goods. And tourism, of course, the Revive Portugal has always been a tourism destination worldwide, but the Revive program, which is a key program that is in place to allow companies to acquire top quality historical properties of the country and to transform them into key tourism properties for high-end consumers. So this is a program that is managed by Turismo de Portugal. Tourism of Portugal is the Portuguese official Portuguese government tourism agency, and they work side by side on this key program that allows companies worldwide to acquire high-end properties in Portugal, historical locations, and transform them to tourism destination. And also, as it was mentioned previously by His Excellency Portuguese Ambassador, the National Railway Competitiveness Cluster, now within the resilience program that is being approved by the European Commission for Portugal, railway will be one of those program areas that will receive a lot of new investment, not only to upgrade the existing facility that spreads about 3,200 kilometers all the way to the border, but to improve the quality of that and to build new lines to improve the country competitiveness. So the Portuguese Railway Competitiveness Clause is in place to assist and to support companies that come to Portugal for investing in this new area. Investment support, ICEP, as the Portuguese Investment and Trade Promotion Agency, works with the Portuguese government to provide support for companies coming to do productive investments into the country. These support schemes are designed for them and are in line with the European Union framework. And of course, ICEP will be available to later on based on a business plan to provide you support and enlightenment on this. Please make sure that to understand that not only Portugal is attracted for investment per se, but also for partnerships within Portugal, Turkey. So although this is not ICEP core business, but we cannot come to an end without saying that Portuguese companies are very much willing and always available to speak with Turkish companies about the possibility of partnerships, not only for Portugal, but for the Portuguese-speaking markets. Like, this is a very growing market worldwide, from Brazil all the way to East Timor, passing Angola, Mozambique. And in these key markets, Portuguese companies are available to speak with Turkish counterparts about the possibility of partnerships to tap these growing markets. And also in Portugal, coming back to support, we do have the expat tax regime that is for non-nationals coming to work in Portugal on a flat tax rate for income tax, but also the tech visa, which is where companies can apply for visas to be attributed to non-European Union nationals to come to work to Portugal. And this is for high talented that needs to come to Portugal. And I'd like to conclude my presentation by again speaking about the quality of life. And anyone that has visited Portugal can understand this. Portugal is a country that has a long history and has a long pride on its tradition of welcoming foreigners as national. This is the way that has been done for more than 900 years of history, and hopefully we will keep on doing this for 900 more years to come. Please come to Portugal, please visit us, and please do your business in Portugal and with the Portuguese. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for this excellent presentation. It's very comprehensive, extensive information. We really appreciate that. And if you make it available with the link that our participants could also download it and can have a better understanding, can study on it. And I like the idea of having the best country for the expat. It's very considerable. Thank you. Yes, now we will continue with Mr. Suat Çalbayık. Suat Bey, Oyak Timpor Holding'in chairman'i.
Mr. Suat is the chairman of Oyak Simpor Holding. Now you'll provide information about your new investment in Portugal. Lale Ülker, Madam Ambassador, Jaime Leta, Portuguese Ambassador to Turkey, distinguished guests, I would like to thank and greet each and every one of you. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you here. Before I start my remarks, COVID-19 has been an area where both countries have been fighting against. The entire world is tackling it. I would like to wish success to both countries. Turkey has also been fighting against terrorism at the moment. It's not only the pandemic. I would like to wish God's compassion on all those people who were martyred by the terrorists recently in Turkey. So before I start, I would like to give an overview of my presentation. I have 5 headings. I will first start with Oyak.
Oyak 25 ülkede yaklaşık
Oyak has a presence in 26 countries. It has 39,000 employees and 18 billion USD in turnover. And it was established upon the law dated 1961. We have almost 500,000 members. We have certain subsidiaries all around the world. We have partnerships with Renault all around the world. Steag, a German company, we have incentives, initiatives with them in the field of energy. A Japanese group, NYK, we work in partnership with them in the area of hubs. A Portuguese partner, TCC, we partner in cement production, and with Linde, we have partnerships in the area of gas production. Here are our subsidiaries. Erdemir, you probably know that company. It is the third steel and iron facility in the EU. 11 million ton is the annual production capacity of the country. Almatis is the world's top chemicals producer. Akdeniz Chemistry is also an important polymer producer, actually the top in the world. Simpor, this is the 15th largest production company. And in the field of agriculture, Hektaş has acquired new subsidiaries, both in Turkey and overseas. It has an important presence. In the retail sector, we have an energy company, Total. And we have energy generation activities there. All around the world, we have a presence on 6 countries. And we have logistics activities through OMSAN. And vertically, business groups include mining and metallurgy, cement and concrete, automotive logistics, finance. In the area of finance, we have banks in Europe. Oyak Anker, for example, is a bank where we have activities. In the field of agriculture, chemistry, and stock breeding, we have these activities, and energy group, 130 companies, and you can see the list of companies that we have. In a cement and concrete group, Oyak made its first investment in 1963. This was the point where it started these activities. Today, it ranks the 15th in the world. And in 2016, a change was made to the management at OYAK in order to come up with a new synergy. And it was thanks to this initiative that OYAK is now focusing on becoming the 5th top country in the world. It has now the single integrated paper production activities. OYAK Concrete was established, and the group was basically established in 2015. Simpor was acquired in 2018. We have a partnership with Taiwan Cement. In the same year, we had 5 publicly traded companies, and OYAK Concrete was consolidated under a single umbrella. It has the biggest balance sheet in Turkey. We've penetrated the market of Côte d'Ivoire in 2020. For the cement sector, we have a presence in 6 countries in the world with a cement capacity of 32.6 million tons and a clinker capacity of 18 million tons. Together with Simpor, we would like to be the 5th largest cement producer. We have 10 cement factories, 7 grinding facilities, ready concrete facilities that we have, aggregate facilities, waste facilities, and hub operations. So in the world, we have a great footprint around the world. Simpor acquisition project, I would like to talk about the process a little bit. Why Simpor and why Portugal? Before we make an investment, we think about, for example, Taiwan in the easternmost point of Asia. And in Europe, there is Portugal. And Turkey is a continent that serves as a bridge between Asia and Europe. And on the westernmost point of Europe, as well as the easternmost point of Asia, the only way we could combine them was to take a step in Europe as well. I believe that it was a right decision that we took in 2016. Simpor is the 6th largest and the most visible brand in Europe. We have made great progress in this area. We finalized our discussions in 2018, and we now fully own the company. Simpor has a long history. It was established in 1894. OYAK and Aslan Cement were basically established in 1911. Both countries enjoy a history of over 100 years. And Simpor, history of Simpor, Alhandra facility commenced operations in 1846 and 1976 is the brand that the company established in this area. The financial crisis in 28 hardly hit Simpor, and after that it shrank its presence to only 2 countries. Before we made this investment, we had a preference at OYAK, and our originating point was as follows. That country had a significant potential, and we had a motto: we will bring Simpor back to its glorious days. We wanted the company to basically enjoy those good old days. And employees, I would like to thank the employees of Simpor. They've partnered with us significantly as part of our strategy. They provided significant labor to us, significant contributions. I see it in the presentations of the participants here. Yes, Portugal is a country that is on the top ranks of many lists. And Portugal is quite important for us as well. Yes, we have reliable people there. And a great indicator of the trust that we have in the country is that we have around 1,800 employees. And this is our 3rd year after the acquisition. and only a few of our employees were basically transferred from Turkey. We maintain the existing labor there, and we add to the employment of the company. Once we acquired Simpor, Simpor now operates in 6 countries, up from 2 when we first acquired it, and hopefully we will expand it to 10 countries. The zinc and clinker production, aggregate production, ready concrete production are the areas that Simpor is operational. There is no problem whatsoever in terms of exports and clinker production and activities in this area. 1.2 million is the capacity all around the world, and we would like to further contribute to the export activities of the company. Our investments. After we acquired Simpor, we've intensified our R&D efforts. In the world cement sector, production is quite important, and clinker has always been an intermediary raw material, limestone as we called it. And for the past 3 years, we've been working on R&D activities, and we've started producing cement from clay. This has been quite important indeed, an important initiative in the world. So there are 2 production methodologies here. One is rotating chambers. This has been established in Côte d'Ivoire, and the other is vertical production, and we will basically deploy it in Cameroon. This will be a first in the world. One of the most important world facing the world is the environmental problems. We would like to reduce CO2 emissions. This is a great priority for us. Simpor enjoys great labor and R&D activities, and this allows us to focus on that goal further. Portuguese people are quite calm, and when you united with the synergy of the Turkish people, you basically tap into many opportunities. And now we can basically produce calcinated clay at the moment. It was thanks to all these efforts. CO2 emissions have been reduced by 40% thanks to calcinated clay, and it helped us save energy by 35% with 20% less heat consumption. Compared to normal clinkers, we can basically reduce CO2s by 65%. It is a new brand for us, low carbon cement.
200 kilogram ton.
200 kilogram tons. So we are basically going to reduce the figures a lot. You will see it on the charts. 230 kc CO2 was the amount of emissions for producing 1 ton of cement, but now the figures dropped significantly. I believe that this has been an incredible discovery, and together with Portugal, we will continue our production and activities. This has been the fruit of our R&D efforts, and this has been a great initiative on our end. This has been a new R&D project for us. A new era starts in the cement sector, calcinated clay. Calcinated clay production started at the plant in Côte d'Ivoire. Calcinated clay production technologies drops CO2 emissions by 40%, energy consumption by 35%, and reduces heat consumption by 20%. So this is a really environmentally friendly cement. Soon, the first rotating calcinated clay production facility. So this is the cement concrete paper group of OYAK. So we should further focus on cement. Cement is the most used product after water in the world. Cement covers many requirements of humankind, from shelter to infrastructure. So innovation and cement, people were basically unable to dream innovation in cement industry, but we made it. So sustainability, increased energy efficiency are the benefits that we will enjoy thanks to that. And we will generate power through waste. We are among the first companies that have been undertaking efforts to this direction. And power generation, 1/3 of power that we will consume will be generated from waste. This will help us significantly reduce CO2 emissions. This is an important priority for us. And this will also help us contribute to the objectives within the EU as well. So 30% is going to be the amount that we will reach. Our cement group, 5,300 employees that we have, and 1,800 of them are from Simpor, Portugal and Cape Verde. And in 2020, as of 2020, the number of employees in Portugal is increasing. Only 5 of them have been Turkish expats. We have 1 C-level, and I will give the floor to him as well. They work in great synergy together. I believe that we will further continue on that.
OYAK with cement and concrete as Simpor, our values are, we call this the 5S, sensitivity about the environment, human life, international rules, local traditions, and sustainable business areas. At every point that we go to, at every country, we adapt to their traditional values. We respect their laws, and we're very sensitive in this regard. Among those, vocational health and safety, safe and healthy working conditions. During COVID-19, we had a very good risk management program. We started My Physician project at OYAK, and this has also received an award. All of our colleagues, when working remotely, they could call the doctor and reach him 24/7. This is applicable for the entire group of OYAK. Economic and industrial contribution. Just the cement and concrete group has more than 5,300 employees. Environmental awareness, green energy investments are continuing, and zero waste management systems are underway, very successful. Compliance and transparency, protection of data, and transparent communication with investors. We have, of course, companies quoted on the stock exchange. Carbon footprint reduction, calcinated clay technology, and carbon dioxide emission reduction. We are having significant investments in that regard. Thank you very much for listening to me, and Simpor Group CEO, Mr. Briggs, the floor is yours. Söz sizde.
Luis?
Yes, Mr. Sot. Good morning. Good morning to all, to Your Excellencies, the Portuguese ambassador in Turkey and the Turkish ambassador in Portugal, and all the guests. Just my testimony about our experience in with OYAC. Since the beginning, I was very enthusiastic with this business with OYAC because I see the great opportunity for Simpor to go on these previous good years and to become again a very good, very important player worldwide. And I think it's important to highlight since the beginning the recognition of OYAC about the talent and skills of our employees, the support for the management, and especially the good cooperation between teams to work on the best practice in order to adapt the best ones for the group. And this, of course, is a continuous work. And but I think it's important to highlight this good cooperation and good results. And the most important thing is also the strategy defined and the commitment of OYAC to invest on our operations. There is a strong, very strong strategic plan, investing plan for the operations here in Portugal to improve the efficiency and also to improve the environmental issues, the challenge that we have related with CO2 emissions, that was already mentioned by Mr. Swat, related to this new kind of cement with calcined clay. But for now, I think, and I continue to believe that was the most important change in Simpor in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and we will continue to work to Simpor to become one of the biggest fifth players in the world. So that's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. Özer Bey, sözlerimi bitirirken ben tekrar teşekkür ediyorum sizlere bize bu imkanı verdiğiniz için.
Özer Bey, as I conclude, I would like to thank you once again. OYAC strategy is wherever we go, we want to add value locally, and we want to respect the values of the world. And of course, we are doing our best to do this. I wanted to emphasize this once again. Mr. Swat, we thank you. OYAC is a source of pride for us as a brand. You have had a very good Portuguese experience, which makes us happy. Hopefully, this will inspire the rest of us and encourage the rest of us. And we'll see big Turkish investors in Portugal and big Portuguese investors in Turkey. You are proof that this can happen. Portuguese-Turkish tissue twinning, harmonization is good. Thank you for your speech. Thank you, Luis. Now I'd like to give the word to Lisbon investor, 6th leading cruiser port of the world, Mr. Emre Sayın. Thank you, Özer Bey. I would like to say hello to all participants. In fact, I am the bright side, shall we say, so to say, because not as a CEO of this holding, but as the chairman of Lisbon Cruise Port. I'm participating from the Lisbon side, and I think I'm the only Turk over at this side. All of our employees at the port are Portuguese, and there's an international staff for the board. I'm the only Turkish person, but I enjoy the sport immensely. I am very proud to be a member of the board. With your permission, I will have a brief presentation, and I don't want to keep this long anyway. Lisbon Cruise Port. Before we look at it, I would like to briefly talk about the global port operations, Global Ports PLC. As you can see Here we are operating 19 ports in 13 countries. When we say port, of course, we mean cruise ports. And operating a cruise port is more similar to operating an airport regarding the characteristics of the business and the new services that we're developing. So the sector is more similar to airports. You don't work with aircraft, but cruise ships. Vietnam, Singapore, how long, starting with that to all the way to Havana.
Şeyimiz var, portföyümüz var.
We have this portfolio you see before you. Not always easy to manage. Lots of time differences, different cultures, different regulations that we're subject to. But at least this is what makes our business a pleasant one. People visit destinations with excitement. We open the gate to them. We try to help them out. We serve the ships, the cruise ships. So it's a pleasant job after all. And maybe I should also say, you're going to be seeing in numbers here. As you can see down here, we are the biggest cruise port operator in the world. We are the leader in the world in that regard. It's a very small sector, very specific onto itself. There are almost 1,000 cruise ports around the world. Some are huge. The 19 ports that we're currently operating, 2 more are on the way, 1 in Spain, 1 in Italy, 2 more ports in our portfolio. These are some of the largest ones. So we are a significant player. For instance, our market share on the Mediterranean is 24%. 1 out of 4 visits are taking place on our ports. We're touching 14 million passengers a year, operating on 4 continents. And in 2017, we moved the company to London and we had an IPO. That's why I said PLC. It's a public listed company. And this, in fact, be it the management of the company, be it the states that we're in a relationship with, this is a beneficial thing that defines us. Interesting company. On the one hand, we're a Turkish company. Our roots are in Turkey. This operational model was first established in Turkey, such as Bodrum and Kuşadası supports, but we consider ourselves to be a very global company. In fact, we call it glocal because everywhere that we operate, we are taking care to be very local, and we are trying to represent that destination, that city. Coming to Lisbon, it's one of our beloved destinations. Portugal is a country that we love a lot. Why not? There's nothing to dislike about Portugal. When you look at the photographs, it's easy to see price performance good, very friendly public, the Portuguese, and tourists that come on cruise ships, they provide a valuable experience for them. 300 days of sunshine a year, plus we believe that we do something good there. We do a good job there. As cruise port, since we have acquired the port, every year we've been receiving awards, and it's receiving awards as a destination as well, Lisbon. Therefore, we operate very happily in Lisbon. Coming to the port in 2014, Royal Caribbean and a local partner, we acquired it as a consortium. This privilege, 35-year-long privilege contract, 17,000 square meters of terminal building. You see construction photos. I'm going to show you completed pictures. This project received several awards, and I think it has been a very interesting innovation for the city as well, this port. It's a full-service port. All sorts of services are provided, equipped with modern technology. Infrastructure of the port, there are innovations. And these were really, these all came out of a need. For instance, the majority of the ports that we operate are on the Mediterranean or in the Caribbean, but we don't have much weather conditions, but this is on the Atlantic Ocean. It's important when you disembark passengers, board passengers, you have special gates where you bring on or unload the bags. There may be 4 meters of difference on water level when it's in the ocean, but I won't bore you with technical details. You see an aerial view of the port on the left. Those lights are sky windows also. So the port is lit up by daylight and heated by daylight. One of the products of Portugal, we said cork. For the first time in the world, we tested this. We mixed external facade and cork. We tested and applied. Cork has a different feel, a different color, and beyond that, it is really, it has good isolation characteristics. Well, maybe with Oyak here, it's not right to talk about these things, but this was a first in the world. And this is something that Portugal is so proud of, and we had the opportunity to use it there. The terminal building later on received several awards. And really, this is a terminal building that we love to operate. Maybe you see it on the picture here. Those of you who know Lisbon, Alfemo is the region. All these fado bars are there. Lisbon's old neighborhood. And our building here is very modern, but it has been accepted very well, has become part of the city. And what you see here, in fact, is like an advertisement for us. We use this as an advertisement, ready for the future. It's the slogan that we use in a group of advertisements. We use Lisbon and the terminal. As I said, one of the projects that we just so enjoyed doing. On the left-hand side, you see the reflection pool. About this, it solves other problems as well. You see 2 ships here. We can actually host the largest ships in the world. It's a long quay that you see the terminal building in the middle. I think the price was very good, and it's a very flexible one. A single terminal building for all of these ships. I will not go into the future too much, but with Lisbon municipality, and we have significant projects. We want to provide energy from the coast so that the ships will not be working their engines, thereby polluting the environment. So Portuguese is one of the most sensitive countries in this regard. Now, I'll talk about the destination a bit. The cruise business is really on the commercial side, especially. In a way, we have to direct the orchestra here, but there are lots of players and you have to coordinate that. That's very important. For instance, the airport, the main port for ships departing from this port, the airport is very important. For instance, there are many passengers flying to Lisbon from the US. There we work with TAP and with the airport. We fly them to Lisbon. They spend a couple of days in Lisbon and then they go on the cruise. be it Madeira or Canary Islands. Most of these ships go there, those cruises. It's very important, this destination, and also Port Management, Tourism Office, and other ministries. We are in cooperation with them, and we're working wonderfully well with them. When you look at the figures on the right-hand side, while doing this construction on the one hand, on the other hand, we managed to increase the number of passengers. And there's been a significant leap the year that we finished the construction. We were planning this growth before COVID. Of course, during that time, cruise ship tourism also came to a halt. We're waiting. Of course, the ships will start sailing again this year. So I think with a delay of 1 year, we are going to be continuing. Last, I talked about the impact of pandemics. Lisbon, among our ports, be it for the layout or the
pandeminin en peak dönemlerinde, en üst
And when the pandemic peaked,
Fantazya gemisine gerek limanın gerek
MSC Fantasia vessel couldn't really find a place to dock.
Bakanlıkların verdiği izinler sayesinde ve bizim aslında
We obtained the permits from ministries, and the media in Europe covered these permits quite extensively. All the protocols had been completed back then. We acted in collaboration with health authorities to run the processes. Now we are expecting for the new vessels to come and for the tourism activities to start. Without further ado, I'd like to provide you with a view in the night, the beautiful city of Lisbon. And I would like to thank all the Portuguese officials again for their support. It's been an incredible collaboration. They were quite solution-oriented. They helped avoid any kind of bureaucracy. This was the picture that we enjoyed in Portugal. This is somehow similar to the mentality in Turkey, and the Turkish values and Portuguese values are quite similar. They value family, they like having fun, they like having new foods and drinks. So this is how we've reached a certain level of synergy, and Lisbon has become part of our lives, and hopefully will focus on new destinations in Portugal, especially in terms of cruise ship operations. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Emre, for your quite appropriate observations, because this was information that you reported directly from the site. But there are a few questions, and the time that we have, actually we've run out of our time, but it has quite been a pleasurable presentation. And in the remaining time, we will collect the questions, and I'll pose the questions to our speakers. A question is about the experience of OYAK. Are you happy with the human resources there? This is one of the questions. Mr. Suat, you may answer the question, but please keep your answers as short as possible.
Bu anlatımda verdiğim örnekler bunu gösteriyor zaten. 1700 olan çalışanımızın sayısı.
Well, 1,700 was the number of employees. We currently have 1,800 employees. We have only 5 Turkish expats. that we transferred from Turkey. In terms of innovation, they're quite successful and they are quite calm in nature. And the Turkish employees have a synergy. When you combine both of them, we have seamless processes. We're very satisfied. 130 companies in 25 countries we're talking about. By the way, safety is quite important. We place ultimate importance to safety. Yes, Mr. Emre said that from Global Holding, there is no other Turkish employee working on the port than himself. This is the case for us as well. And this is something that gives a lot of courage, actually. And as for our experience, as for human resources, employees are very efficient and we don't have any problems whatsoever in Portugal. One question. What is the key challenge that keeps you busy? What challenged you the most during your investment in the region? You're right on the site, so your observations are relevant here. Well, our business is interesting in that when you look at each and every project, they're not necessarily large-scale projects. Well, we have experience in a few commercial ports. Well, it's nothing comparable to the number of ports that you operate, but I know the investments because I know the investments that you have. But our challenge is mostly about the importance and the weight of the projects that we have. And we built a new terminal. But this is not necessarily a challenge, but I don't know how to put it. But it made us sweat somehow because the new terminal, the new hub, the new port, well, we've seen great deal of interest. 5 ministries and the Prime Minister honored the inauguration ceremony, and we're not really accustomed to this. Well, we're not talking about an environment where there is only one port. In the Caribbean, for example, in the Caribbean, this is something that you can expect, but this is not something you would expect in Europe. Yes, such interest has been great, but it has also brought along a great responsibility. Any delay that we may cause could have great consequences. But still, we just tackled it without any problems whatsoever. But the construction company that we worked with, we were quite satisfied with them. The controllers, we were very satisfied with them. Everything went quite smoothly.
Yani önemli bir ülke, bir Avrupa ülkesi öbür
Well, yes,
taraftan.
this is an important country, European country. But the cruise ship project was monitored with great interest, closely, and in a way, it made us take our steps with caution. But a great challenge, when I think of great challenges or any hurdles due to red tape, we didn't experience such problems. Maybe it was because we had a local partner, but this is the general model that we follow. In our investments, we make sure that we work with local partners. Well, being local is something that we care greatly about. The port is in Bahamas, as you can see in my background. And we work with local companies there as well, but this has been quite seamless for us. Thank you very much, Mr. Emre. Portugal and its incentives to Turkish companies for exhibitions and participation in exhibitions. Maybe the answer may come from the embassy. The incentives provided for the participation of Turkish companies in the exhibitions? I think it would be appropriate if ISEP responded to this question because Turkish investments, sorry, says the speaker. Mr. Leito, you may want to answer this question.
Your Ambassador, Your Excellency, this question I think should be addressed to you. They're asking if there is kind of an incentive for Portuguese participants to Turkish exhibitions and fairs. Is there anything? Maybe ISEP could, Mr. Padua could answer, or Mr. Ambassador, I don't know.
My experience, I can talk by my experience in Singapore and in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, where we had lots of exhibitions with Portuguese companies, presence of Portuguese companies. Normally, not the government, but the associations, the commercial trade associations and industrial associations of Portugal in the north or in the south of country. Normally, they provide support. That's my experience.
Okay.
But ISEP perhaps can tell something more than I.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. As you said very correctly, in Portugal, typically any participation of a Portuguese company in international trade events are organized by the sector associations. They are the ones that provide the support for Portuguese participating companies on such events. Thank you.
Nice. Okay, since we have Mr. Ambassador here, I would like to also let you know that Mr. Bakit Agap from Aspisan, it's a very important corporation in Turkey for the military and defense batteries. They want to get in contact with you. I think after this meeting, they can contact with you directly. And he's asking your email. You see him as the participant. Maybe you can answer by yourself. And I see Mr. Naval. He's a manufacturer of industrial kitchen equipment. Having a problem for export price to Portugal. Again, this may go to the ambassadors and the trade attaches to answer, maybe not now, but after the meeting directly, because we have very limited time and there's 27 questions and comments. I have to go very fast. And Emre Pekesen zaten cevabını zannediyorum Sayın Büyükelçimizden aldı. Yine
I think his question was replied. He represents Pegasus, and his question was about the flights, and probably the embassies responded to this question. And Mr. Çolak had a question.
Are there any significant difference between a Turkish player and a Portuguese player being in Africa? Afrika'daki varlığınız noktasında Türk olmakla Portekiz olmak arasında fark var mı diyor.
Is there any difference between being Portuguese and Turkish when it comes to a presence in Africa? And apparently you use the brand of Simpor. Is this an advantage or a strategy being in Portugal? Well, Simpor brand.
Büyük marka.
This was the most visible sixth brand in Europe, and it had presence in 12 countries in the past. And we wanted to tap into this recognition, this reputation. And the colleagues that we have there, they're both Turkish and we have both Portuguese and Turkish employees. We don't see any difference between being Portuguese or Turkish here, because we are the people of the world, citizens of the world, and we have objectives to be the fifth largest player in the world. So it has to do with the brand, but the perception in Africa about being a Turk or a Portuguese, was there a difference? Because we didn't see such a difference in Africa. Maybe you did. This is the question. We have operations in around 12 countries and we don't see any difference. We work there together with our Portuguese colleagues. The way they greet us as investors is the same, and they greet us with great interest. We adapt ourselves very well. We have a great culture of working together. We also have a culture of respecting the tradition of the local communities. So actually there's no difference here. If we go to Portugal, though, in the Portuguese-speaking countries, you would definitely see a better greeting probably, or you would be welcomed in a more smooth manner. We have a question about hotels, offices, schools, a company in this area, a 40-year-old company in this area, and we may have Portuguese participants who may be interested in their business, and Ms. Lale may address Rashid Bey's process of opening up to global markets and her team. Mahmoud Er is also with us. When it comes to opening up to Africa, two countries and the governments of the two countries, is there a way for them to have PPPs, private-public partnerships? The question is to both ambassadors. Maybe Ms. Lale would like to start. As I said it in my opening remarks, when it comes to high-level exchanges, Portuguese and Turkish companies can partner in third countries, and both governments have a strong will to support such companies. Yes, Portugal has a very strong hand in the Portuguese-speaking markets, and Turkey also serves as a gateway to other markets where Portugal doesn't boast a great presence. But we also will have many other companies with operations in these areas. When I first was assigned to this post, there was a significant railway project in Africa, and the subcontractor was a Portuguese firm, and it was a source of great excitement for us politically. We have projects in construction. Portuguese companies act as subcontractors. How do we really bring all these together? We actually come together in the field itself, in Mozambique, in Angola, for example. This is one thing. And on the other hand, a business forum that we will organize this year and bringing the business circles together. There, we're not only talking about Turkish companies with operations in Portugal or Portuguese companies with operations in Turkey necessarily, but we are also talking about business circles with activities in third countries. And I think this is something we focused on previously. We may basically come up with contracts and deals. They may basically have their first exchanges there. So this year's business forum will be quite supportive and conducive in bringing the business communities of the both countries. Thank you very much for your reply. Mr. Gürkan Çolak, I think we answered his question. And Mr. Emre is replying his question as well. Human resources and satisfaction with human resources. We have this question answered. Ms. Gizem is asking about the names of retail stores. You may also contact her in writing. Osman Budak wishes congratulations and further achievements to Oyak Group. Soner Tetik is asking for support from the embassy for establishing a company in Portugal. For sure, just email us, send your contact information with us, and the trade counselors will keep in touch with you.
Bugüne kadar Türk-Portekiz ticari ilişkileri içerisinde
Well, Portuguese-Turkish commercial relationships, has there been any missing links? So what do you think is the reason behind the missing links, or the reason behind us falling behind the targets that we had between the two countries? I think we touched upon this. Maybe we focused on other destinations. This is a lesson that I've learned, actually. Well, there may be different comments on that, different opinions on that. The Turkish business world had traditional markets in Europe. France, Germany, and the UK were among them. Central Asia, Africa were the traditional markets of the Turkish business world. And I think